This wedding was an assignment for my Religion 2 class in Catholic school.
This one's wife. Why do people comment on her? Narcissistic people. Hello, I'm H.G. Tudor. This limited series has been focusing on what motivates content creators and those who comment repeatedly on this one's wife to do so. What is it that drives their behaviour? As I have explained, for the purposes of helping people understand about narcissism, I divide people into 4 groups. The empaths, the normals, narcissistic people who are not narcissists, and the narcissists. There are similarities in behaviour between these 4 groups, and there are also considerable differences. And understanding the drivers behind the behaviours, it enables people to have a better understanding of themselves and the people that they engage with. And it also helps you understand what it is that motivates certain people who are content creators, perhaps videos, blog articles, even mainstream commentators, journalists who repeatedly write about the Sussexes or talk about them on broadcast news, to help you understand what it is that is driving their behaviour. It is particularly insightful. I've already explained what it is that drives the empaths and the normals, and we now turn our focus on narcissistic individuals, but these people are not narcissists. What is a narcissistic person who is not a narcissist? Well, they have some empathic traits, but not many, and they're not particularly strong. They do exist, but they find themselves outgunned, outranked regularly by the much stronger and more numerous narcissistic traits. These are traits such as selfishness, anger, argumentativeness, showcasing, resentment, envy and jealousy. Those are the traits which govern this person's behaviour far more regularly. The narcissistic person does have emotional empathy, but it is limited both in scope and extent. This means that whilst it exists, it may not be seen very often, it may not be seen at all in relation to certain people, and is reserved for a very small number of individuals where, in some instances, it can, for a short period of time, be reasonably extensive, but then is withdrawn. If you'd like to understand more about the narcissistic individual, I would encourage you to watch my video, Narcissist versus Narcissistic, which will provide you with a comparison between a narcissistic individual and the narcissist, which will aid your understanding. And also you can obtain, for a low fee, from the Knowledge Vault, Understanding Emotional Empathy, which not only talks about the narcissistic individual, but helps you understand more about the concept of emotional empathy vis-a-vis normals, empaths, and narcissists also. Excellent material. Thus, the narcissistic individual can be manipulative, and they know that they're manipulative. But they are not pathologically manipulative. They don't have a need for fuel. They don't have an inherent need for control in the way that the narcissist does. They don't seek character traits and residual benefits in the way that a narcissist does. In short, they don't pursue the prime aims. Yes, they need some form of control in their lives like anybody does. And they're governed by their much stronger narcissistic traits and limited emotional empathy, which shapes and influences their behaviour. Having explained all of that, how does that then link into those that comment about this one's wife who are narcissistic? What are the main driving factors behind their narcissistic behaviour? Well, once again, the community that exists with regard to those commenters is at the forefront of what drives that behaviour, but it is in a different way to that of the normals and the empaths. It's not so much a sense of enjoying belonging to this community, which normals and empaths have, but rather, because of the showcasing narcissistic trait, the need to be seen as a big hitter in that particular community. To be seen to be wielding influence. For instance, to tell people how it is so that they might then replicate the material that that person has come out with. To be seen as the holder of exclusive information. Now, I make it clear just because somebody might have unearthed some information about this one's wife and it's exclusive to their investigative works, that doesn't mean per se that they're narcissistic. But the narcissistic individual will often herald such information as being exclusive and a game changer or groundbreaking, when in actual fact it's not. And what you'll often find with the narcissistic individual, that in order to prompt a reaction and to seem impressive within this community, they'll often engage in clickbait headlines and the provision of misleading and even made-up information. The reason for this is they want people to see them as important within this community because of their showcasing trait, and also they don't care about how it impacts upon the concept of the truth and other people because they don't have any emotional empathy for them, or it's extremely limited. All they're interested in, as the narcissistic individual, is the advantage that is conferred to them by holding this information so that people respond to it and they are seen as a mover and shaker within the community. So the community is important to the narcissistic individual, but not in the sense of camaraderie and belonging, but rather as being seen as a big fish swimming in those particular waters. A second motivating factor is the likes, the comments, and the responses. Although the narcissistic person does not need fuel, as the narcissist does, the selfishness and vanity, both being narcissistic traits which will be strong with the narcissistic person, drives the pursuit of getting likes from people, of getting favourable comments from people, of being seen and recognised. Thus, the dopamine hit that comes from getting those repeated likes and favourable comments is exacerbated by the narcissistic traits of the narcissistic person, so that they are driven to create this content because they want more of the reaction, they want more of the likes, they want more of the favourable comments. A third motivating factor for the narcissistic person is money. This is because of the inherent trait of pride and vanity, and also selfishness, that they deem that it is appropriate for them to make money off the back of this content, and similarly, where they do so through clickbait and misleading and made-up information, they don't give a rat's ass as long as it creates the money for them, as long as the bucks come rolling in. Whilst again, they don't have the concept of the residual benefit that the narcissist does, money is important to the narcissistic person because they can show off with it. By earning a lot of money, it allows them to buy shiny and nice things, which appeals to their pride and their vanity. A fourth motivating factor for the narcissistic person is essentially doing this one's wife and Harry down, and enjoying doing so. This is often because the narcissistic person may well exhibit envy in relation to the fact that this one's wife, as a mediocre nobody, has got herself into a position of worldwide fame or infamy and has achieved wealth based off very little other than grifting and manipulating her husband. There's a degree of resentment at the way that she conducts and behaves herself. Whereas the empathic person is driven by the offence that is caused to the truth, the offence that is caused to decency, and the offence that is caused to justice, those don't matter so much to the narcissistic person. They might claim they're motivated by a sense of justice, but what's really going on is envy and resentment at the way that the Sussexes behave, and that motivates them to want to do them down. It causes them to make up stories about them. It causes them to comment about them in the way that they do, and they derive enjoyment and satisfaction for striking a blow against them. The fifth motivating factor in relation to why the narcissistic person comments and creates content about this one's wife is the presence of limited emotional empathy. The narcissistic person, as I explained, cares for few people, and they simply won't care about this one's wife or Harry, which means that they're more likely to engage in ad hominem and gratuitous attacks upon them. using particular terms about them that some might deem offensive, repeating completely unfounded rumours about them because it serves their purposes of getting a kick out of slating them. They want to see them fail, not because that appeals to their sense of decency or justice, but because they simply can't stand them and they want them to fuck up, because they want to see them fail, because that would satisfy that narcissistic person given their absence of emotional empathy. For instance, an empathic person may well want to see this one's wife fail because they see that as just, and they would want Harry to return to the royal family because they feel sorry for the way that he has behaved and been treated. And if they accept that the children exist, they wouldn't want any harm to be caused to the children. But the narcissistic person wouldn't care if all four of them were begging on the streets of Monty Shitshow. They would simply want them to crash and burn. Accordingly, when it comes to the narcissistic person, there are 5 main drivers of their behaviour. Showing off within the community, the necessity of the receipt of likes and comments, money, doing this one's wife and Harry down, and their limited emotional empathy. Do you agree with these observations? Do you think there's anything else that affects a narcissistic person with regard to what drives them to create content about this one's wife? Let me know in the comment section. I'm HG Tudor. Thank you for listening.